Rock stars, Eric Andres, your guitar sage here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how you can get the best guitar tone. Now, I feel very confident in saying the best. So people throw that word around a lot here on YouTube, don't they? The best this, the best guitar, the best that. But when I'm doing them, I typically really try to drill down and think of the best, Obviously, some of these things can have an opinion, but I'm going to even show you how to navigate that. That's why I say the best tone that you can get, okay? Because what tone you like is going to be different than the tone that I like, or Zakk Wylde, or Eddie Van Halen, or Jimi Hendrix. That's why there's not one amp or one guitar that everybody goes to. So I get the question a lot, what's the best guitar? What's the best amp? What's the best da-da-da-da-da? What's the best cable? And truly, there are the upper echelon, and we can talk about why that is, but there's opinion, right? So to me, I love the sound of a Strat as far as blues, but another guy might be like, no way, 335 all the way, or Les Paul all the way. So it really just depends. But we're going to be talking about specific pieces that will allow you to navigate to creating the best tone that you possibly can have. And we're going to start from a real basic level. We're going to be talking about the parts that are the necessary parts, okay? What I mean by that is this. Let's get really simple here for a minute. You've got a guitar. Well, first off, you have yourself. You've got a guitar. That guitar is connected to a cable, okay? This is called signal path. And we, you learn this in studio school. You got to know how the signal gets to where it's going, signal routing. If you know this, then you can troubleshoot where a problem might be or why a particular thing sounds a particular way. So we're going to be doing that today. So you have yourself, you've got your guitar, right? Your guitar is connected to a wire. Your wire is going either to your amp or it's going to a pedal. And that pedal is either going to an amp or it's going to a board, if you're running direct, okay? So let's talk about that in that variable, okay? Let's talk about electrics, right? We've talked about acoustics, obviously we're talking about woods and what have you, but we're talking about electrics here. But even if you're using an acoustic and you're running it in an electric way, you've got a cord plugged into it, same thing exists here, okay? So a lot of folks will emphasize things that are important, but maybe not important as other things first. So I like to look at this from the order of what's going to affect things the most, okay? And I have found that the guitar and the amp are the things that probably are going to affect your sound the most. With that being said, personally, I think, and I'd love to hear what you have to say, I personally think that the amp has more to do with the sound of the whole enchilada than anything else. Follow my logic for a minute. If you have a really bad sounding guitar, but you want to play punk music or something with that gritty type sound, and you plug it into an amp that's got that great gritty sound, well, it's going to sound like a not great guitar plugged in through this great sound where you're getting that gritty sound. But if you took, a $250,000 Les Paul and plugged it into a really clean amp and you were trying to come up with that punk sound, you're not going to get the sound that you want because it's too clean. So to me, the amp is the number one thing that creates that sound that you're looking for. Okay, now with that being said, there's really two categories of amps. There's solid state. Well, let's say there's actually three now. There's solid state, there's tube, and then there's modeling. And modeling amps can be either solid state or tube. I've owned both. And so it goes like this. A solid state amp is an amp that doesn't use tubes, okay? Why use tubes? Tubes old technology. It is old technology, but there's a reason why us guitar players keep gravitating back to tube amps, is because they're very, very dynamic. So when you play a particular something very lightly, what's going to happen is you're going to get a cleaner sound with your overdrives and distortions, okay? As opposed to when you're really digging into the strings, all of a sudden it starts gritting up. If you're just plugging into a pedal, a digital pedal, and then going into a digital amp, and you're just getting that sound of no tubes whatsoever. Well, then what's going to happen is, even if you're playing lightly, you're going to still get that real distorted distortion type sound, and you won't be able to pull back just with your playing dynamics wise to give that sound that you're looking for. Okay, this is a hard thing to describe. It's best if you can A/B a couple amps, A/B a tube amp, A/B a solid state amp, and you'll see the difference that I'm talking about. Both of them will generally sound similar in their loudness and in their what they can do, but tube amps by far will trump a solid state amp. Okay, so now this particular one is a Fender Blues Junior tube amp. This is a solid state amp. This is a tube amp. So I own both for different reasons. I use this one for for more of a PA, if you will. Okay, and sometimes I'll run guitars through it, but the tube amps are the ones that I like the best. So my suggestion to you as far as an amp is find a good tube amp, preferably one with a name brand like a Fender or a Marshall or a Black Star or something like that. Okay, now this Fender Blues Junior, if you don't know anything about tube amps and you want to get a tube amp, I would suggest getting a Blues Junior, Fender Blues Junior. It's a tried and true amp that can get loud. You can play with a band. You can turn it down and it still sounds great. It's great for pedals, so I have a huge pedal board here that I have running through this, and that's where I get all my overdrives and what have you. I have this amp just set to barely break up. What that means is when I play a chord, you just hear a teeny bit of overdrive, just a little bit when I really dig into the strings. Otherwise, when I play it light, slightly lighter, it's very, very clean. Then this way, what I can do is I push that amp with some pedals and get that nice overdrive sound. So it's perfect for that. So if you're looking for a starter amp, it's a little bit pricey, so you probably pick these up for $300 or $400 used, but they're going to be a little bit more new. Okay. So to me, the majority of your amp is the majority of your sound is the amplifier. Now, setting the tones and all that stuff, I've got videos for that, especially in the Unstoppable Guitar System, but really it depends on the music that you're playing, the style that you're playing, the guitar that you're playing. So a myriad of different reasons. Folks ask me, they say, hey, what's the perfect guitar amp settings? There's no such thing, right? It just depends on all those other variables. So as much as I'd like to tell you what the best settings are, it's just there's not one. I can tell you that when I set my amp, I always set them right in the middle, on my EQ right in the middle. I give it just a little bit of reverb. I typically use my post gain as my volume, my pre-gain for the overdrive sound. And I just work out from there. But it really is all about your ears. There's no specific way of doing things. Okay, now that's the amplifier. Okay, talking about guitars. If you don't know what kind of guitar to get, the best thing to do is listen to your favorite artists. If you find that all of your artists are blues artists and they're playing a lot of Les Pauls and SGs and what have you, then you're probably going to want a guitar with a humbucker pickup. Humbucker pickups are these guys that look twice as big as the single coil pickups that you'll find in Strats and Telecasters. This is a Stratocaster. So as far as the guitar, listening to your favorite artist is a way to determine, well, I really like the sound of Stevie Ray Vaughan. Why does his guitar sound like that? Well, so much of his sound has to do with it has to do with his playing, but it has to do with his guitar, and it has to do with his amp and that combo setup and a couple pedals or a pedal or two that he might use. So when it comes to guitars, you want to make sure that you're using a higher quality guitar. Obviously, money doesn't always equate to a better sound, but having the guitar set up by a luthier is a great idea. Here's why. Every guitar has its own sound. So that part, if you have a pickup that you don't particularly like, somebody else may like it. Again, we're talking choices here. But what you can do to get your best sound is you can take that guitar, take it into a luthier, have them set it up to where the strings are as as the action is set to where you want it to be, either low or high. Typically, folks like it lower. And you want to make sure that your pickups are the right amount of distance away from the string. So I say the right amount because the way I used to do it is I used to just get the pickup as close to the strings as possible, and it worked. That was a good thing to do for me because I was playing a lot of rock and I wanted that nice overdrive sound. So the closer the pickups are to the strings, the more volume you would have, the more overdrive you would have. With that being said, if you're wanting cleaner music, that doesn't mean to slam your pickups all the way down because it's where you're getting your tone from as well. It's about the middle way, okay? What I mean by that, just like the Buddhists say, the middle way. It's like there's a specific place that the sound's going to be best. Now, it's not going to just jump out and be just, oh my gosh, typically, but you'll be like, man, that sounds really, that's a sweet spot. So I'll do this with my guitar tech, Greg Ellis. He'll come over and I'll play, and then he'll listen because he's got a way better ear than me, and then he'll turn this 1/4 of a turn, and then I'll play it again, and then he'll turn it back 1/8 of a turn, and then I'll play it again. He'll tweak it one more time or whatever. Stuff that I'm like, I don't even know how you're hearing that. Nonetheless, that's having the guitar set up the proper way to where the pickups are where you want them, in proximity to the strings and what have you, is a huge part of your sound. Okay, Strats or single coil pickups have a more hollow type of sound, and humbucker pickups typically have a more driven sound, a sound that's best running through a rock amp with distortion and that sort of thing. Okay, although you can play both the other way around, and people do it all the time, but I'm just saying that's what they're known for. Okay, so now what about the stuff in between? So we got the basics covered here, right? But what about in between? So having a good quality cable. So I'll typically use Mogami cable. That's Mogami. They're high priced. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I think a regular lead to your amp is about $50. If you're looking for a more affordable solution, Kliq, Kliq, is a great, they also make these capos and a bunch of other stuff, a lot of stuff that we give away actually at YourGuitarSage.com. If you want to know all about the giveaways, go to YourGuitarSage.com/live. I give thousands of dollars worth of guitars and effects and guitar goodies away every single month. Courses and everything. I just gave away my $1,500 Variax, actually. So there you go. Just shipped that out this morning to a lucky winner who was at my live broadcast this weekend. So pretty fun. So cables. Make sure that you have a high quality cable. So like I said, Mogami's a great name. Go into your local store and ask around because you're going to get a bunch of different opinions, okay? But there are a few that are known as the best. George L. Here in Nashville, those are also great cables. Those are great for your pedals because you actually create the cables yourselves. You've got the cabling, and then you've got the ends that you create the particular length that you want. So if you want a 1-foot cable or a 2-inch cable or a 10-foot cable, you could do that very easily with these ends, and you can swap and change them out all the time. Really cool. That's what my entire pedal board is routed with. If you want a tour of my pedal board, I can't even speak right now. If you would like a tour of my pedal board here on YouTube, just type in YourGuitarSage pedal board and open that up in another tab, and I'll show you all about my pedal board. All right, so cabling is very, very, very important. While we're on the subject of cabling, typically it's known that anything over about 20 feet of cabling starts diminishing your sound to a point where you can hear it, okay? Any amount of cabling, we're talking about electronics here, so just like the internet or something, anything, water supply or gas supply or anything, we're pushing something through that pipe, or in this case, a cable. And if you had a 100-foot cable, what happens is that sound starts diminishing as the cable gets longer. So a 20-foot of cabling is about the max that you would want before you start audibly being able to hear the degradation. There's some folks that could hear it before then that have really good ears. Eric Johnson is known to be a nerd like this, where he can just hear crazy things. Not me so much, okay? So cabling is really important. Cabling in between your pedals, you want it to be very, very minimal. The less cabling, the better, okay? Now, while we're on the subject of pedals, there are a few pedals that are known to be the go-to pedals, okay? And a lot of them I cover in my pedal board tour. So I'll mention a couple of them now, but I won't go into it extensively only because I'll talk about it extensively there. But having a good OCD pedal that's made by Full Tone, in my opinion, one of the best overdrives out there, distortion pedals out there, just because it sounds so natural. To me, it sounds like a when I'm running it through this amp, it just makes it sound like a Marshall or some other sort of heavy-duty amp, and it's very very variable, very variable. So that's one, a Maxon or Ibanez Tube Screamer, classic pedal, great for blues and rock and that sort of sound. Okay, so, well, I won't go into all the different types of pedals because really we're talking about sonic purity here. We're talking about getting the best tone, okay? So what that means is if we can get all this to come out of this speaker the way that we want it to, that's the best tone that we can get, okay? Now we can do other things. We can affect it with delays and reverb and what have you, but we're trying to get the purest tone to the speaker, and you know, that's a very important thing, okay? Now, going backwards both ways, on the guitar, your strings, when you put new strings on, you're going to hear a huge sound difference. In fact, a lot of times I have folks who will leave their strings on for a long time, and they'll put new strings on, and they're like, oh man, I've had to adjust my amp and everything. It just sounds totally different because new strings sound brighter. So as you're playing through your strings longer, you're going to find that you may have to eke up the treble on your amp a little bit over the months because you lose a little bit of that brightness, okay? Okay, so that's important. Also, the way you're attacking the strings down to the pick. There are certain picks that I like to use, and I might even have a video for that here on YouTube. If not, I definitely talk about it in the Unstoppable Guitar System. If you'd like a taste of that for free, hit the link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Top 30 lessons that I teach all my students here in Nashville. They'll blow you away, I promise. I've had folks that have been playing for 30, 40 years that have watched those videos that said, Eric, I had no idea about this stuff. So don't leave holes in your playing. Watch it. It's free, or visit me here in Nashville. We'll spend a lot of money and a lot of time, or hit the link for free, okay? So a pick, and I go over that specifically. We go over picks and the different sounds that the picks make when you drop them on a table. That kind of tells you the brightness or the darkness that they're going to create on your strings, okay? So a thinner pick is going to create a darker sound. And there's a real thick pick will create a darker sound, but there's an in-between there that creates a brighter sound. Also, the material matters, okay? Going back to the amp, things like tubes, speakers, if you're not getting everything that you want out of the amp, sometimes modding. This particular amp has about 15 different mods to it. I couldn't even name them for you. I just give them to my guitar tech, and I say, you know, make it the way I like it, and he does all his bits and pieces. Some of them are like to just create it, make it quieter, or to give me a little bit more reverb or something like that. But nonetheless, you can do mods to things too. So if things aren't perfect in what you want, find an amp doctor, find a guitar luthier to do all the adjustments for you so that you can get that sound exactly the way you want it. All right, my friends, hopefully that helped you a bit here. If you need more information about tone and what have you, I've got a whole series inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System called The Ultimate Pursuit of Tone. And I'm actually working with my guitar tech throughout these videos because he's much more knowledgeable than me in regards to the specifics, electronics and woods and stuff like that. And we get into all that bit, and we A/B testing, we A/B test amps and picks and pedals and all the rest. So make sure you check that out. Again, that primer is YourGuitarSage.com/30. That'll give you a feel for how I teach. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Would love to help you out there. Please hit me up there. I let folks know about everything that I'm doing there, including my live activities, or YourGuitarSage.com/live, where I do all of my live activities, and I give thousands of dollars worth of stuff away every single month. If you're not part of that, you need to be, because you're going to win. all right? Leave your comments below. What did I forget? I'm sure I forgot something, and I'm sure you're going to tell me. So let me know what I forgot down below. Keep it nice, my friends. If you're going to argue about something, keep it nice, keep it civil, but let me know what I might have forgotten. And my friends, as always, you know my mantra: be kind to all beings, don't trust the man, and practice your guitar. I'll see you in the next video.